All right, we got something interesting brewing for the Texans. Hey, if you're new to the channel, we are self-admitted Detroit Lions fans, but we have another channel, Sports Talk Detroit, but we started this one because we love NFL teams that the national media ignores. So, as I've said many times, you'll never see us do a Cowboys video on this. We started doing Texans videos before the season even started. Saw great potential in that team. We're well over 50 videos now. If you want a good spot for Texans content, like and follow us in this one. So, here's what we need to talk about. There has been some recent social media activity. All right. There's been some recent social media activity that is quite interesting. And sorry, a little weird stuff going on there. And it is by none other than Saquon Barkley, Quadzilla. All right. He has done something unique. Now, I'm not going to be here and sit here and say, Twitter accounts and Instagrams and all that kind of stuff tell me what's going on. But in recent days, Saquon has reportedly followed multiple Texans players on Instagram. Yeah, it's that time of the year, people, where we talk about who's following who on Instagram. But he's followed the stars: Tank Dell, Nico Collins, Brevin Jordan, C.J. Stroud. As you can see, C.J. Stroud has kind of been one of those guys who just absolutely has the ability to make you other stars want to go play with him. That's who he is. All right. And I honestly, I'm just impressed with it, who he is as a player. So Saquon Barkley, this is a guy last year that had almost 1,000 rushing yards. All right. Only 3.9 yards per carry, which is interesting. But here's what I want to tell you. Their offensive line was the worst. And when I say the worst, I mean the worst. The worst offensive line in football belonged to the New York Football Giants. All right. And Saquon Barkley was running behind that. They had one good offensive lineman. That is Andrew Thomas, their left tackle. Other than that, they did not have one guy that had a PFF grade above 42. All right. That is not starter caliber. They don't have one starting caliber player on their team except their left tackle. The Houston Texans had their own share of rotating offensive line and injury issues and things like that, but their offensive line had 4 of the 5 were starting caliber players, and most of them were in the top half of starting caliber player. So you can say what you want about the Texans offensive line, but it was much better, all right, than the New York Giants. Besides, we know who Saquon Barkley is. Right? We know who this guy is. This is a player who has rushed for over 1,000 yards 3 different times in his career. The only time he didn't do it while mostly healthy was this season. It was this season. This is a guy who had his rookie year, what might be the most ridiculous fantasy football season I've ever seen in my life. Right? I mean, this guy is just nuts, and he's 27. So you wonder, all right, so what kind of tread does he have left on the tires? And it seems like it might be worth it. So why would I say go for it? I made a video about how the best way to improve a good running game is to improve your offensive line. I feel like the pieces are there on the offensive line with the Texans. So now what they have to do, and I think they kind of showed it, don't you, in the last 5, 6, 7 games of the season last year, that the line was getting there. The running game was starting to open up. I also did another video talking about how the run game opens up in year 2, all right, under this West Coast Shanahan disciple system works. So with Bobby Sloak, you would expect that yards per attempt just to go up just by the fact that people know the system. It's really simple. It's a complex system, but they can figure it out. All right? They can figure it out. And so now the line is there. Saquon Barkley can just absolutely fit into this. Here's another reason why I kind of like it. The NFL salary cap was going to be a projected $240 million this year. They just released that the salary cap is taking its largest bump in NFL history, and the new salary cap is going to be set at $255.4 million. I went like a little awesome, but $1 million. All right. So that leaves your Houston Texans right here with almost $74 million to spend. Almost $74 million to spend. Now remember, some of that's going to Nico Collins. And then you have to decide who else you're going to pay. But that is $15 million more than they thought. Now, everybody gets $15 million more than they thought. Here's the interesting position, everybody in the NFL. Here's the interesting position that the Houston Texans find themselves in. They find themselves as one of the very few teams. I would say it's down to two teams, the Houston Texans and the Detroit Lions, that have both a large amount of cap space and a proven winning football team. That is the two teams left. Lions have about $10 million less than the Texans. All the other teams that are top in the salary cap, okay, all the other teams that are there are not as good. You're talking Chicago Bears. You're talking the Washington Commanders. That's a team that's up there in spending. You're talking New England Patriots. So if I'm Saquon Barkley, if I'm Quadzilla, if I'm Thunder Thighs, or whatever we want to call him, right? And I am saying, all right, I got 2, 3, maybe 4 years left, probably 2 or 3. He's a running back, right? And especially with his running style. I am saying I want to get the bag because I'm a running back, right? I want to go sign a 2-year, $20, $22, $24 million contract, somewhere in that range. Honestly, if he's smart, he'd even do like a 3 or $30 million. But I also want to do it for a team that can win. And this offense was already dynamic. They were just a consistent, solid running game away from being ridiculous. And Saquon Barkley, after his first couple of years, hasn't really shown it as much, and I think a lot of that is attributed to Daniel Jones being the quarterback. But Saquon Barkley absolutely has the ability to catch the ball out of the backfield. He's a multifaceted running back. All right, but as he gets older, he might be going more toward just carry the ball, and you can still have Singletary. You can still have a third down back that's there, and you can share the load a little bit. That would be my plan, would be to get him 200 to 250 touches, carries specifically, which rounds out to about 14, 15 a game, 13 to 15 a game. That's how I'd be playing it. So here's my question for all of you. Do you want Saquon Barkley? Is he the running back you want? Or would you rather have Josh Jacobs? Or would you rather have the king, Derrick Henry? Or would you rather draft? Like, we've talked about this almost ad nauseum because this is the position in which you guys need to address. We can talk about wide receiver. We can talk about defensive tackle. You need a D tackle. All right. We can talk about opposite corner. Do you re-sign Nelson or do you get somebody else? We can talk safety. We can talk all of these positions and middle linebacker, and we have. But running back is the very obvious thing in the middle of it all. All right. Hope you enjoyed the channel. Let me know what you think. And hey, like, subscribe. See you on the next one.